Welcome in. It is day 175, and you're speaking to the Meeples Champion. And officially, Happy New Year. Happy New Year in the idea that we are on January 1st, 2023. We made it. We've gotten to the next year. Whew! It is crazy to think how far we've come. We are closing in quick on the midway point of our 365-day goal. We're on 175 today, and all we have to make it to is 183. That's the midway point, so we're not far from it at all. With that being said, we're going to jump into a game that is interesting. I think the concept of the game is cool. I actually used to own this game. It's one of the few games I did cull for my collection. And the reason I culled it for my collection was I got really excited initially. I got it for Christmas. I actually had my parents pay far too much to get it. It was way too expensive for the game it was. I really liked the idea, and it just never landed with anybody I played with. And I didn't dislike the game, but I did not land as strong as I was hoping. I was hoping for a 10 out of 10. I thought this was going to be a game changer for me. And it was like a 5. It was like, this game's fine, but it's one of those games that I feel like if you don't have an entire group that's completely into the theme, it doesn't land at all. And unfortunately, with the exception of like one person, I've never known anybody who's really into the theme. So therefore, the game is just a constant failure because whenever I would try to get it to the board, it would just basically be like everybody's just kind of like half paying attention. They don't really want to get into it. I don't get into it as a result, and it just wasn't as fun as I was hoping. The game is Tokaido. I borrowed a friend's version to review today. My version was sold off at a PAX East 3-4 years ago. Maybe 5 years ago, quite a while ago. It didn't make the cut. I had to kick it out, and I didn't get back the full value of the game by any means, but I got back a little over half, so I was happy. And the concept of the game is that you're supposed to be a tourist going over to Tokaido, essentially Japan, and going on a tour through Japan. So the whole game is one long path. And on your turn, you can go anywhere in front of you want, but you can never go back. So you go forward, and so long as you are not the last person in line, your turn is done. You get whatever it is. So you might get some money, you might get to get a piece of a painting, you might get the option to donate to the temple, you might get some food. There's loads of things. You're essentially doing what a tourist would do on a trip. But the design of the game, and it plays far better the more people you have, is that whoever's in last can go anywhere in front of them they want, with the restriction of based on where other people are. Now, sometimes a spot will have it set up that, oh, well, we can have up to 3 people here. So the first person that comes goes up top, the second one goes to here, the third one goes to here, and now based on the order of where you are here, determines who's next to go. And other times there's a spot that's a single person spot, you go there, and now you've cut it off. There's no way the other players can go because you're on it, and the only way that your turn comes up again is when you're the last one in line, so they're going to have to go past you. So you're taking all these sacrifices where you're making determination of, well, it's important. Am I trying to make a picture? Because there are different paintings you can collect, and as you collect them, you're trying to get the whole picture. And if you get the whole thing, it's worth a lot of points. Am I trying to donate? Because when we get to the end, based on how much you donate, you're going to get a big payout there. Are you trying to collect more money? Are you trying to get the food? There's all these things that you can try to go after, but you have to be really, really good about figuring out, well, what are my opponents going for? What's the availability in front of me? How can I balance my resources to know that I can afford what it is if it costs money? And then basically, once you get to the end of the road, everybody's done. And now you're able to actually go back through and go, okay, let's start figuring this out. Who got points for what? And you balance it out. So there might be people who really went all out trying to get paintings, but they never completed any, and therefore their paintings aren't really worth anything. Whereas somebody else might have been like, you know what? I donated and I collected money. And that's all I really did, but it gave me a competition. It's it's about trying to absorb the culture. So you're really trying to spread yourself out amongst everything and just have a little bit of success everywhere and have the ability to completely understand what you saw. So the reason completing a picture is important is I think there's 3 different pictures. It's like a 3, a 4, and a 5 pane picture. So obviously the 3 needs 3 trips to get it. So the idea is that you need to have appreciated it by seeing the whole picture. You're not going to appreciate it if you only go in and you get a glimpse of the picture. You don't go to an art museum and look at a picture through a couple doorways that are open and get a shot, because you're only getting an angle of it. You're not going to get the whole thing. So it's an interesting concept. I don't think it's a bad game. I just think, again, it's a hard one to hit. And for me personally, I found that those linear games really has to be well designed. Otherwise, it doesn't hit very well. Well, that being said, why don't we jump into our 7 categories and see where this one ranks there. When it comes to the art, that is going to be one of the biggest thumbs ups I've given, not only on this game, but on any game yet. The art is what sells this game. For nothing else, this box, the inside of the box, the pieces, the cards, the board, it is beautifully put together. It is one of the best games visually that you'll ever see. And it is its best selling point. It's what grabbed me. So that's a huge thumbs up. They really do a good job there. When it comes to those components, the components are really nice. Primarily, you're dealing with the wooden. When it comes to the meeples, the little discs that you're using, it's wooden. When it comes to the money, it's cardboard. And when it comes to all these cards, it's a good stock card. I don't know if it's necessarily the highest quality, but it's pretty close. So they really went all out on all their pieces. Even the board itself feels like they've finished it somehow better. So it's very good. I actually even love the box. I mean, I don't know if this box is of a higher quality, but it feels it. So I'm a big fan of that. It's a big thumbs up. The price. The price is where this game runs into an issue for me, because the game isn't that big. It realistically shouldn't be worth more than 50 at most. Even 40 to me feels like you're going a little bit high. But it was at one point 60 was the average. I think my parents paid like over 100. It was like 120 or 130. It had come out. For anybody who's been a big board game fan for a while and who has followed different board game channels on YouTube, Will Wheaton back in the day used to have a tabletop channel. It was great. I followed it. It was like 3 seasons he did. And they played Tokaido there. It's what got my attention for the game. But the problem was, he got the attention for this game moving into the Christmas season, and it was nowhere to be found in the States. So to get it, I always help my parents when it comes to the getting of board games for me, because they don't game, so they don't know where to get them, how to get them. We had a special order this as an English edition directly from Japan. So between shipping, between the exchange rate, all this other stuff, it ended up more than doubling the price. Now, I've only had games directly ordered from another country twice. Both times they were expensive. One of them, to me, wasn't worth it. Even if I'd gotten this at the 60 price, it wasn't worth it. Whereas the other game, which was The Name of the Rose, 100% worth it. I don't always get to play it very often, but it's one of my all-time favorite games. This one just didn't land. So for me, it's got to be a thumbs down. Even if you find this as low as 40, you're just barely making it acceptable, and you're not going to find it at 40. It just isn't that cheap. Your difficulty. So again, this is where you have to run into, what do you mean by difficulty? Can you play the game? Yes. Anybody can play this game. A 10-year-old, a beginner, an expert, experienced, anybody can play the game. But can everybody understand the game and be able to enjoy the theme and really get into it? I don't think a kid or a beginner or an expert are going to really do that. What you need is an experienced player, somebody who enjoys games, who understands the concept, and who also gets into the theme. This is so thematic that if you don't really get into that idea, it's going to lose you. And unfortunately, I think that more people than not don't get into it. Tokaido was a huge, it first came out, attention grabber that has just fallen off since then. I know many people who dislike the game, and even my friend who likes the game, I think he'll agree with me that we don't get it to the table ever. It's just not, it's not so good for us thematically that we would pick it over another 100 games that we have an option of. It's just got to be a thumbs down on that difficulty. It pushes too many people away because of the requirement of needing to be into that theme. Replayability. No, there's no replayability. I've never played this twice in a row in the same day. I've never played it with the same group twice. It's just not a game that I can get to that table very often with people. It's hard to get out there. It's got to be a thumbs down. Your keys to victory. Now, this is really good. I love how the game is designed linear and that you have that option of, yes, I see that you guys have jumped here and I have this and this and this like mixed throughout you that I can pick. And I don't love them. But I could always just say, you know what? I know that this particular piece is exactly what I need. I know that that by itself will give me a huge advantage. I'm going to bypass everybody. I'm going to jump further ahead than I should. I'm going to land here and I'm going to guarantee myself what I want. You have that option. And then, yes, this could result in either everybody else leapfrogging you like a maniac and you end up basically losing out on a lot of opportunity, or going really slow behind you and then either just getting right in front of you and basically they got 3 turns to your 1 apiece, or the flip side, which is that all of them basically get all of those pieces and then leapfrog you as well, and all of a sudden you're in a situation of like, I don't know what just happened. They got like 2 turns apiece behind me, and then their 3rd turn was up here, and now they've crushed my hope because they took away my future options. Things could happen. I think that's all part of the fun when it comes to those keys to victory, because that's what this game's about. Is there is always choice. You're never limited. There's always everything available to you. It's just up to how much you're willing to risk. I love that. It's a thumbs up. Unique. So now I'm positive that there is another linear style game like this out there. I just haven't played it. So as of now, based on what I've seen, what I've played, and what I've heard of, I have to give it unique, because what other game is truly like this? It's a game that definitely has a different way of presenting a story, and got a different way of presenting gameplay. And I think that that's really great, and it's got to be a thumbs up. So overall, what do I think? I highly recommend not to buy this game. What I am okay with is if you can get your hands on it. A friend, a family member owns it. You know that it's at a local library or a local board game store that you can go and you can play it at. Any way that you can get it to the table. If you can play with some family or some friends and it genuinely hits for most of you, if you can at least say to me, I know 2 people who are available on a regular basis and the 3 of us love this game, then I would consider to buy it. But I think you need a minimum of 3 of you, realistically 4, 5 max. That's your range. I think 3 is acceptable, 4 is really what you're looking for, and 5 would be over the top, but great, because it would give you your max player count, but then it would mean, hey, if we're not all available, at least we can play 4-player or 3-player. But to me, that's the only way. You have to know that it hits for everybody. And also be aware, just because it hits for you all doesn't mean you're all going to want to play it, because what happens if, well, this person owns 100 games and that person owns 70 games, and this person, yeah, you don't own many, you only own 20, but you have 2 friends who own those 100 and that's 70. And you start adding it up and you go, well, between the 5 of us, we all love the game, but we also own together like 320 other games. Is it going to really hold up against those other games? You have to be trying to think down the line realistically. Don't spend your money on a game that might end up just getting shelved after the first couple months and not played ever. That's what I'm worried about with Tokaido. It's what happened to me. I think it's what's happened to other people I've met that own the game. You just got to be ready for that. But that's just me. It's up to you to make your decision. Maybe you're okay with shelving a game and playing it just once in a while. Maybe you want a game just for its art. Maybe you want something that's unique. Or maybe you legitimately believe you can get it out there and play it with lots of people. And if you can, awesome. I think it's great. Again, I don't dislike the game. I just never got it to the table very often. Well, it has been day 175, and we've been speaking about the game Tokaido, and you've been speaking to the Meeples Champion. Like, share, subscribe, and check down below in the description. I'll be adding an Amazon link in case you want to get this game for your collection. Until next time, I'll talk to you tomorrow.